All right, we're going to get started. This is Rob McCoy with Holganix, and I am going to be your presenter today. We're going to be going over our Blue Sky 2100, the overview, the results, how to use it, you name it, we're going over it. As I mentioned, I am your host. That's the best picture they could find of me, so take it or leave it. And we're back here. Let's move forward. All right, there's our agenda. So we're going to go over the product, over some of the results, different usage, and how you can use the products. And then we'll go into a Q&A session so that we can make sure any of your questions are answered. That is actually a picture of Concord Country Club in the background. That's a course that is very close to our headquarters. And they use Bio 800 and Blue Sky regularly. I believe we just did another delivery yesterday for them. They use it on tees, greens, and fairways. So use it pretty widely, and they use it at a surprisingly low rate and get very good results. So what is in Blue Sky? Blue Sky is four main components. You have your slow release nitrogen, your quick release nitrogen, nutrient enhancers, and microbial food sources. So what does that actually mean? So the slow release nitrogen, well, actually, I'll start with the quick release nitrogen. It's the same quick release that you typically see in a urea form. That's how we get a quick pop with the product. And we do not use any chemical suppressants in order to form a slow release. Our slow release is derived from trizone and methylated urea, and also some of the sugar sources that are included in the microbial food sources, such as blackstrap molasses. There's nutrient enhancers in there, different humics and things that are in small quantities just to complement some of the microbial activity. And then, of course, the food sources for the microbes, because that's where our focus is. We want to make sure that we're not only putting nutrients down, that we're actually improving the soil health at the same time. All right, so what are some of the benefits? This is typically used on high performance turf. I would say that's where it's most commonly used. So we see it a lot on golf courses, a lot on sports turf, specifically baseball fields and football fields. But we do have quite a few lawn care companies that use it as well, primarily in the summer months because of the natural slow release. You get a really nice pop of color, but then it extends. So everybody's definition of extended color is different. This will be about 8 to 12 weeks of color. It obviously depends on the amount of rainfall that we get, the type of temperatures that we get, and the turf type that you're dealing with. So it is more extended than something like a straight methylated urea or a urea by itself. A lot of people that use this product are using it and in a designed way to have a nice overlap so that there's never a fluctuation in color. Specifically with golf courses, they cannot afford to have it look like it needs fertilizer. It should never look like it needs fertilizer. And if you are taking care of residential properties, that's the ideal scenario as well. You want your customer to notice when you've been there, but you don't want them to start looking at the neighbor's lawns because you haven't been there. So you're kind of walking a fine line there. We do have other customers that are using the product in tree and shrub maintenance. And I would say the reason that they do that is because they're going to get their nitrogen source there, and it lasts a long time, but they also put it down at a very low rate. And by low rate, I'm thinking that it's 1/8 of a pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, and in some cases, even a 1/16 of a pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. I'm having a little bit of trouble with these slides progressing. And actually, I want to make sure I check. So that picture right there, Broken Sound Golf Club, that's in Florida. They may be one of the golf courses that have used Bio 800 and Blue Sky for the longest period of time. I think that they're on almost year 10 now of using the products. They basically, when Blue Sky came out, they were already using the Bio 800. When Blue Sky came out, they were one of the first places to test it, and fell in love with it right away, and actually have promoted it to some of the other golf courses in Florida, just because of that extended use is critical in Florida, specifically because of their blackout times, where they're not allowed to put down any nitrogen. You need that extended use nitrogen, and they don't want to harm any of the soil. So it being subtle and that long of a slow release is really a nice balance for them. So how do you use it? It's as simple as could be. It is a liquid fertilizer. It can be tank mixed with anything. So most of the time when we're recommending it, it's paired with the Bio 800 product line, specifically the lawn version. The reason for that is it's kind of a synergistic relationship where 1 + 1 really equals 3 rather than 2. If you are going to incorporate Bio 800 and you have that in your mix, you're putting all the entire ecosystem of that soil food web into the soil, and then you're putting the Blue Sky with it, you're really giving the soil everything it needs plus a support system to go along with it. So you can turn around some of your results very fast with the combination of these two products, and kind of build up momentum at a quicker rate. For those of you that I've spoken with before on the over the phone, we often talk about building up momentum in the soil. The Blue Sky increases that rate, so that we can kind of get the momentum on our side and start to reduce our other rates as we move along into future applications. You can see an example of a couple of the rates there at the bottom. 1/8 of a pound of N, 1/4 pound of N. And obviously you can do the multiples from that. I would say that 1/4 pound of nitrogen is probably the most common rate that I see people go out with right off the bat. Just because I don't think you often need more than that with this fertilizer. But for example, we just had a customer with it about 2 weeks ago that had not used any of our products and was in a really desperate situation with some of the properties they were dealing with, and they went at 1/2 pound of N. But that also has to do with what they had previously put down. Not only was it a low quality fertilizer, it was put down at the wrong rate, so it was low already. That combination meant that we knew we could put more nitrogen down, and if we use this source of nitrogen, even moving into the summer months, we didn't have to worry about burning then, because it was going to be so subtle as we moved into that time frame and really be working more subsurface than as far as a foliar impact. Furman University in South Carolina used this combination of the Bio 800 and Blue Sky together. They were able to cut the amount of nitrogen down by 40%, which is good. And I will also say that is pretty common. If you're moving from a program where you were not using any Holganix products, more of a synthetic program, for example, say that you were putting down 4 pounds of nitrogen per year, and it was primarily a urea-based program where you had a synthetic slow release built into it in order to extend some of that green. It's very common that we would get down to 2 1/4 pounds of nitrogen per year, combining these two products. But some of the more impressive results that they got were they eliminated all of their blanket fungicide applications. And in South Carolina, there was a lot of disease pressure. But when you're considering that, they probably still needed a spot fungicide treatment here or there, they were doing 8 blanket fungicide treatments per year. So you look at the budget aspect of it, which we're all very conscious of right now because of how fertilizer prices have, skyrocketed. But also, what effects does the fungicide have on the soil health over time? You're doing those types of applications year after year, you're deteriorating the microbial activity in the soil and really getting a lot of locked up nutrients that can't be used. So not only did you stop the negative cycle there of the fungicide treatments, but you also completely reversed it with the biology that's in there to free things up. So they were very concerned with not losing some of the look that they had. So they felt as though after 1 year of usage that the 40% reduction was still a added benefit on the results that they were getting, and they could feel comfortable with that reduction. They probably could have done more, but they just didn't want to risk the results, and they were thrilled with the impact on the budget. The overall improvement on the turf, that really comes down to the thickness. They just had a lot of wear and tear areas from the college students, walking certain paths where they didn't have sidewalks and cutting corners on sidewalks where that grass would just get thinned out more and more. And even, in this picture, you can see they have hedge lines like that all over the place. Well, how the mower fits in there is going to be the same every single time. So you're going to have your tires going over the same spots. That's going to cause more wear and tear when you have tighter landscaped areas to deal with. And they were able to get that to thicken up and really get a nice stand of grass over the entire campus. And the last point, it is a mixture of warm and cool season turf in that part of South Carolina. So it worked equally well on both. The Wilmington Blue Rocks, this is 15 minutes from our main warehouse. And I can tell you that they used the product for probably 5 years, the combination of the two products. So when they were on their regular maintenance schedule, they were using the Bio 800, depending upon the year, but 4 to 5 times a year. And then they were using the Blue Sky at an 8-ounce rate every 6 weeks through the growing season. Now, the interesting thing was because of how the field had settled over time, 2 years ago, they had to do reconstruction on the field to re-level it. And they, again, used the same product combination and literally up the rate of both products just to get the grow-in to happen faster. So that 15-ounce rate is the 1/4 pound of nitrogen. And they used a 14-ounce rate of Bio 800 for the grow-in. Because the other thing is that you want to get that grow-in to happen as quickly as possible so that you're not battling anything else. You want on a major league sports turf, you want one type of grass and you don't want any lack of uniformity. And I don't even know if I said that word right, but we're going to go with it. They wanted a uniform look so that it appeared well from the stands, but also they do that for the playability. It has to be as predictable as possible, specifically on the infield. If they start to have any imperfections in there, then not only will the grounds crew hold it to a higher standard, but if they start getting complaints from players, they'll be out of a job pretty quick. That was, another example of that is the Boston Red Sox. They use our product as well, and they actually use the Bio 800 on a very regular basis, like every time they take the tarp off the infield, specifically for disease reduction and the playability of the turf. They said it's just something that we don't have to worry about anymore, so we're going to keep going with it. It's such a small area to worry about, and once they just committed to doing it, it was an easy application to just run through their system. Myrlee Country Club in Florida. This is one of those situations, and if you follow golf courses on Twitter, you see stuff like this quite a bit, and it's discouraging. But it's also nice to know that if you have a situation like this where massive damage happens, you can help, of course, really get that repaired quickly. The rooting in comparison of using synthetics versus the Bio 800 Blue Sky combination, it's just not comparable. I mean, the rooting is so much faster, the turf's so much thicker, that, you know, in a situation like this where they have to repair that, and it's a very obvious spot, you don't want to be noticing a spot that's under repair for months that's on a tee box or on a green. You want, you know, to tolerate that for a few weeks and then be able to move on and act like it wasn't there before. So they've been extremely happy with the results that they've gotten, and that's all due to that combination of products. This just went backwards. I was thinking that, there we go. Tomlinson Baumberger is another lawn and landscape company in Pennsylvania. So they run two different programs. They have a program that is 100% synthetic that they offer to their customer base, and then they have a hybrid organic program which uses the Bio 800 and Blue Sky as kind of their two main components. And when the first season that they used the Blue Sky, they just did it as a test. They were only planning on doing one application, and then we a few weeks later got another order for it, and I contacted them and said, you know, why are you, I thought we weren't gonna, you know, do this for more than one application. You know, and I was actually asking because of the rate that we went at, and they said, yeah, we're going to use this again, and we're going to increase the rate. The results were so good at such a terrible time of year that we feel most comfortable using this fertilizer rather than switching back to our old stuff. So that was in July, which is very hot in Pennsylvania in July. You're going to be in mid to high 90s on a pretty regular basis, and you're very limited on the products that you can use. So they felt extremely comfortable with that. And the interesting thing, when they started offering those two programs, they were charging about 20% more for the hybrid organic program, and all their new sales were basically coming in like as the hybrid organic program. So as their company grew, their usage of our products, which were the basis of that program, kept growing and growing and growing, and they now see most of their old customers converting over to that program because there's a noticeable difference in results. And they also said that the budget was basically the same. So they were getting 20% more, but they weren't paying 20% more. So how do you purchase the product? There's distributors all over the place, all throughout the United States. If you go on our website, you can see a map of distributors. If you don't have a distributor that's carrying the product in your area, we can always supply you directly. I would say just contact us, and we'll get it squared away for you. And I believe we have some webinars coming up, for different things that you could possibly be interested in. One just going over fertilizer efficiency and really how we would structure that as far as the program that you're running and where we could find some more efficiency in order to cut some of the costs that are just still astronomical. I appreciate your time on the webinar today. And like I said, if you have any other questions, you can email me, you can call me, and I'd be happy to help. Best of luck with the rest of your season, and hopefully you have a great summer. Thank you.